So, take your time and sit comfortably. So you all on the floor, if you want to sit up on blankets, more than one, you can. If it helps your hips to stretch your legs out, do. Or sit cross-legged if you want. So just get comfortable. Let yourself feel that length up through the top of your head. Let your shoulders melt down. And just enjoy feeling your breath coming in and going out through your nose. And let your eyes be really softly closed. And then start to bring yourself into that gentle coming forward as you exhale and inhaling your way back up. So that gentle rocking motion really is keeping the back nice and long. Doesn't mean you need to go far forward at all. Just starting to move a little bit with your breath. The next time that you come back to sit up nice and tall, let yourself stay there and release yourself with your hands on out beside you here now. And let's inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, opening the arms on back out and down. And now bring your arms straight out from your shoulders and then just give yourself a hug with your left arm on top. So come into releasing wherever feels good, like down, holding more towards your armpits is fine, or up and over the tops of your shoulders. Let your chin come forward, so you release your head a little bit here, release the back of your neck. And then see if you can just let your left ear come more towards your left shoulder so you open into the right side of your neck a little bit. And then bring your chin on back down, and we'll go the other way, right ear towards the right shoulder a little bit. And then come on back down again with the chin down towards your chest. And rise your head on back up. We're going to undo our arms, and right away just bring your right arm on top so you come into hugging yourself again. And then release your head forward again. Let yourself feel that space between your shoulder blades. And then roll one ear towards one shoulder. It doesn't matter which one now, just letting yourself release through the side of your neck. Once you come back through center and go the other way, just take your time. You may want to do that more than one time now. Now that you're kind of moving a little bit, it might feel good to roll through again a time or two so you feel that release between your shoulder blades and your neck. The next time, you come down with your chin towards your chest. Then go ahead and rise your head on back up. Release your arms on out beside you here. And have the arms again come straight out from your shoulders. And take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, twist to your left. Now try to let your back do the twisting. Your arms just go along for the ride. Right? Go as far as you can in the twist using your back to twist. And then lower your arms on down wherever's comfortable for you. Letting your arms come on down into that twist. One more inhale. And as you exhale, come on back into center. Float your arms back up from your shoulders here. And inhale here. And on the exhale, we're going to twist the other way. So again, you're really letting yourself feel the movement in the back there. Once you get as far as you want, release your hands on down again. Lengthen up. Feel parallel with your chin to the floor here. One more inhale. And on your exhale, use your belly to come on back around into center. And let's release our arms out beside us and shake our arms out a little bit. Stretch your legs out briefly. We're going to switch the cross of your legs if you were cross-legged. So when you're ready to bring the other leg in front, just go right ahead if you were cross-legged. But keep your legs long if you want to. And then from here, let's again do that forward and back motion. Let your exhales bring you forward a little bit, and your inhales bring you back up. So keeping that long back. Doesn't matter if you go an inch or, 12 inches. Just take your time. Let yourself move with your breath. Good. And the next time that you end up upright, let yourself stay there again. And then release your arms on out beside you. And see if you can bring your hands. If you're in your chair, you might have to come more forward. Bring your hands behind you and interlace your fingers. Clasp your hands back there. Feel really open across your chest here. And come back to feeling your breath coming in and going out. And see if it's possible to come into 3-part breaths here. Inhaling into your belly, then your ribs, then up into your chest. And when you exhale, imagining the breath coming out of your chest first, and then your rib cage, and then your belly. And if it's comfortable for you to just for a second or two, hold your breath. Once you inhale, before you exhale, see if you can just hold the breath for a second or two. And then when you exhale, just let the breath come out evenly. Now, if you don't like that holding a breath, don't do it. Good. And then from here, let yourself release your hands over to the right side, like you're laying your left forearm on your low back there. And if you're able to squeeze your right palm into your left, do, so that your hands are really squeezing together here. And then you feel your biceps engage all the way into your shoulders. And then come on back through center and bring your hands to the other side. Again, how far you go is up to you. You may be able to go all the way to that forearm being laid on your low back there. And then squeeze again, if you can, your palms towards each other, letting yourself feel your biceps, your shoulders. And then come on back into center again with your hands. And then let your hands release on out beside you and circle them around a little bit. Let yourself move through both directions. And then shake your hands out a little bit. Let your hands shake. Even kind of come up a little into your arms if you can. Release your shoulders. Good. And we're going to come on around towards our hands and knees. So if you do not want to be on your knees, do not be. Use a blanket. If it's really not good for you to be on your hands, don't be on your hands, right? You can come into cat-cows with your hands just gently resting like this on your thighs. Or, of course, you can put your hands, instead of being on your hands, go to your forearms, either on your chair like that or on the floor to move through your back. But just be mindful and really take your time. Like, if you feel like either cat or cow feels a little bit hard today or a little bit uncomfortable, just don't go so deeply into the pose. And also, if it feels better just to stay in one of those poses for a breath or two, because it feels like it's really giving you a nice release or a nice stretch, then do it. Time, really enjoy that gentle movement through the spine, and just imagine you're warming up really all the muscles alongside of your spine. You're warming up your belly, your back here. Finish off the one you're on, and then we'll come back to a more neutral spine. And we're going to bring our left foot forward and our right foot back and come into a lunge here. So you know how long of a stance you take in lunge is up to you, and how high your hands are up is totally up to you. Just release into the back of that right leg and let yourself enjoy feeling that openness in the back of the right leg, and feel your belly just gently engaging just a little bit. And we're going to switch legs. Remember, you do want to feel like you're on narrow railroad tracks with your feet, which will keep you from lining your feet up, and it gets you more comfortable up into your hips. And then again, opening up the back of that left leg. Think about your shoulders just releasing down away from your ears. Good. We're going to switch legs again. Now, if you like to lift up your left hand or forearm up to your thigh, you're more than welcome to do that, so that you get out of your hands a little bit, get a little more into your legs and your hips. Good. And we're going to switch again. So again, once you get established in the lunge, if it feels like you want to bring that right hand or forearm up, you can. Not necessary. Good. And then we'll bring our hands on down. We're going to step forward and come into standing forward then now. So take your time. Use whatever support you need. If bending your knees and resting your elbows there above your knees helps you to be more comfortable and to keep that support in your low back, do. Or you can use your blocks under your hands. You can use your chair under your hands or your forearms. And then just easy, full, deep breaths now. Focusing in on your breath. Feeling the ribs expand as you inhale. Letting go through your face and your jaw. Good. One more breath here. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips, bend our knees, rise on up, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So come into mountain pose. If that means you need to adjust a little bit, look at your feet, walk a little bit in place to get yourself really in the right place for your feet, do. And then watch your hands come back together in front of your heart. Just feel your fingers gently, really gently coming together there on your thumbs. Let your elbows soften down. And feel like that you're just reaching upward through the crown of your head as your feet press gently down into the floor. And once your pelvis is aligned, remember that tailbone reaching down towards between your heels. Very easy to get stacked up, really. Hips over ankles, shoulders over hips. And just enjoy coming into your mountain pose. Being aware of how you feel in your mountain pose here. And as we unfold our arms right on down beside us, we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, as we bend our knees, come on forward into that standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a long, flat back. You know your hands can be on your legs anywhere, or on your blocks, or on your chair. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge. Draw your shoulders down. Really, again, find that gentle engagement of the belly. Feel that openness in the back of your right leg. Good. Inhale. And exhale into a downward facing dog pose. Your down dog, your choice where your hands are. So remember, you want to be able to feel comfortable in your shoulders. The higher the hands are, maybe the better for that. Or maybe you feel better to have your hands on the floor. Hug your elbows towards each other. Reach back through your sit bones and feel that length through both sides of the body here. And on your next inhale, come on out towards a plank, only if you can, obviously. So you can come out to a plank. You can put your knees down if you're on the floor and do a half plank. Or you can come to your forearms and come into a forearm plank. So be where you can. If you like to bend your elbows and do little push-ups, you can do those. And let yourself come a little more into your arms and your shoulders. Good. And then we're going to come on back into down dog. So if you can walk a little bit in dog, let one knee at a time bend, do. Good. And then come on back to your full dog. And we'll bring our right foot forward from here. Whatever you need to do to come back into lunge. So you can put both knees down to do that. You can put your left knee down to do that and bring the right foot through. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. So setting your feet up pretty parallel as possible and letting yourself release to where you're comfortable to be. See if you can let your head nod and shake a little bit. So feeling your head move around. And then once you kind of stop the moving, see if you can just appreciate the weight of your head. Let go through your face. Let go through your jaw. And as you inhale, feel those deep breaths coming in to expand your ribs in all directions. Good. One more breath. And then as we bend our knees, we'll bring our hands to our hips and rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's reverse the arms and inhale the hands up through the midline. On the exhale, open the arms like wings as you bend your knees and come on forward. Let your next inhale help you find that flat, long back. Really flatten out your spine there. Good. We're going to step left foot back and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So you know where your hands are totally up to you. Reaching back through your tailbone and really think about the length in your spine right now. All the space in your spine. Elbows are hugging in a little bit. You feel a kind of a hollowing out sensation in your armpits really. So you really feel your shoulders, but in a good place. We're going to come on out towards a plank. It does not matter, again, how far or how you want to come in towards a plank. Again, take your time. If you like to bend your elbows, you can. You can do little push-ups. And then we're going to make our way back again into down dog. Remember, when you come into dog, it's almost like you have no wrist creases anymore. You're reaching so far back with your sitting bones. We're going to bring our left foot forward from here and find lunge. And we'll step all the way back now into standing forward bend. And again, you release where you're comfortable to be, whatever kind of support you need. I know some of you are really comfortable to come forward and hold your elbows and feel that entire weight of your torso. Just remember to feel your sitting bones kind of over your heels. You're trying not to shift your hips way back behind you, in other words. Nice, easy breaths. Full and deep. Imagine your inhales and exhales being equally important. Good. And then we'll bend our knees, bring our hands to our hips. We're going to rise on up to standing and inhale the arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Now let's inhale our hands right up through the midline and then bend your elbows and let your hands come right to the top of the back of your head really. And hug your elbows a little bit forward if you can, if your shoulders let you do that, all right? And then see if you can just look up a tiny bit. And your head is really just pressing into your hands. It's not a huge movement. It is a little bit of a back bend. You're still engaging your belly and reaching your tailbone down, so make sure you're not tucking your tailbone up under you. Good. One one more breath there. And then reach your arms back up overhead. Take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, bend the knees and come on forward into your standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find that nice long, flat back. And we're going to walk or step into a down dog from here. So hands to whatever height you like to be for your downward facing dog pose. And then play a little bit in your dog. If you want to walk a little, do. Or maybe it feels good to bend both your knees. You know, just be mindful. Enjoy coming into that down dog. Let it feel a little more natural. Good. And on the next inhale, we'll come out towards a plank. Now, it is totally optional to do any kind of back bend from here. You can stay in plank, work more on your core, or do your little push-ups, or you can come through for a back bend, a sphinx or a cobra or an up dog. And then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose. Be mindful again, kind of play a little bit in your dog, wag your tail, walk your dog, whatever feels good. And then we're going to come out again towards that plank. And again, a back bend is a total option here. You don't have to do one. You can stay in plank. You can move into those little push-ups, or you can come into a little back bend of choice. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. Good. And from here, let's bring our right foot forward to find our lunge. Now press your feet away from each other. Feel your shoulders really drawing actively down away from your ears. Feel how your belly is engaging when you press your feet away from each other. Good. And then we'll step forward and come back into standing forward bend. Right to your breath. Easy, full, deep breaths. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips and bend our knees and come on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. So adjusting into your mountain pose, whatever you need to do. If you need to move around a little bit or let yourself readjust your feet. And then just be aware of your feet in the floor. Letting yourself, again, get the pelvis aligned. Once the pelvis is aligned, everything kind of wants to just stack up. Especially if you feel like you're reaching up through the top of your head. And then just enjoy. Feel that sense of balance in your mountain pose. And the quietness. At the same time, there's a strength. And then we'll go ahead and release our arms on down beside us and shake out. Move around if you need to. And we are going to come into some warriors, so I'm going to turn my chair around. Make sure you have your blocks handy in front of your mat. We're going to come into warrior one first. So if you have your chair, you can always put your hands on it because that keeps you square with your shoulders to the front of your mat. Step the right foot back. Whether you step back 2 feet or 3 feet or 4 feet is up to you, right? If you need to separate your feet a little wider to get a better balance in the pose, do that. Also to let your hips feel good, right? Let's put our hands on our hips for a second. So let yourself feel that back foot fully on the floor and feel the arches of both feet. Imagine they're both lifting up a little bit, right? Not so much that you roll to the outside of your feet, but you do feel the arches trying to come away from the floor, right? Good, and then from there, release your arms on down. And let's bring our right arm forward. We're going to make a big circle. Right arm forward and up, and then back as far as you can behind you, keeping your gaze forward and let it come down. We're going to go the left arm. Inhaling it up and forward, overhead, and back as far as you can behind you. And let them both come down. Let's do both together. Inhaling the arms up, circling back behind as much as you can. And then the next time you inhale up, we're going to stay up with the arms overhead. Now they can be wider if you want, or you can have your hands over your shoulders. Turn your pinkies in a little bit towards each other. So you find that sense of space between your ears and your shoulders. If you like to look up a little bit, you can. Feel equal to your feet and the floor. So you feel very much balanced between your feet, even though your legs are very asymmetrical here. One more breath. And then lower your arms on down beside you. We're going to turn towards the side of the mat, letting our feet come at least a little bit wider than our shoulders for a wide-legged forward bend. Feet are pretty parallel. And you know, of course, you can grab your blocks or a block, or you can bring your hands down to the floor when you come forward. And then once you get down with your hands, maybe you want to change how far apart your feet are. You can let them get less wide or more wide, right? And then bend both your knees for a second. Let yourself really feel the feet in the floor. And that same thing of the arches lifting up. Imagine your arches are lifting up a little bit off the floor. And then go ahead and bend one knee at a time. Let yourself easily come from side to side. Once you do that, sometimes it just makes you want to change your stance again. So if you feel like, I'd really like to get wider or less wide, do. And then come on back into center and let yourself bring your hands either on blocks or the floor in front of you so that you have a nice long flat back. And we'll bring our right hand up to our hip from here, and then see if you can roll your shoulder up, come into that twist there in the middle of your back. You can put your palm right flat down onto your low back there if possible. And then bring that right hand back down, and we'll go to the left. So left hand comes up. Again, you can, as you roll that shoulder up and you look to your left, you can just find that little bit of a twist there, staying even in your hips. Good. Bring your hand back down. Let's do it again on the right side. Roll the shoulder up. Now, I know a lot of you are just itching to rise the right arm up towards the ceiling. Good luck with that. If your shoulder lets you, go for it. And then put your right hand back down again, and we're going to go to the left. Left hand up, roll the shoulder up, stay there if you want. Or if you feel like you really want to stretch that arm up, you can. And then we'll come on back down again. Bend both your knees, bring your elbows above your knees if you can. Let yourself come into that squat there. Really reach back through your tailbone, right? So instead of rounding up into your back here, again, think of that flat back. Reach your tailbone back a little bit. Good. And then from here, take your time. Let's set up whatever we need to for support to come into our wide-legged forward bend. So you may decide that you would like to bring your hands to the floor and let your head hang. You may decide you want to stack blocks up and have your hands or your forearms or even your head on blocks. Or you may decide you want to hold your ankles, right? Just be really mindful of how you're feeling in the pose. And enjoy your breath now. Easy, deep breath. And really feel like you're accepting your breath. So instead of taking your breath, you're accepting your breath. Good. One more full deep breath. Now really be mindful when you start to come up. Take your time, use your hands however you need to help you. If you need to walk your feet together before you head up to, of course, you know to do that. And then walk around a little bit if you can. Move through. Even if you can lift one foot up and kind of like let yourself move to where one foot kind of goes back towards your buttocks a little bit, so you feel, you know, you're moving through your knees, but you're also feeling your quads a little bit that way, right? Good. I used to think about it was like you'd be slapping your bottom with your heel, right? Not that you're necessarily going to get there, but. All right, we're going to go to the other side. So we'll come forward to the front of the mat and step our left foot back. And again, for Warrior One, if you need to widen your stance, let your stance get wider. It's a balance issue. It's also about getting comfortable in your hips, right? So be mindful, feel as you look forward again, and you let your hands be on your hips. Think about your pelvis for a second, right? So in Warrior One, naturally, when you bend that front knee a little bit, your pelvis is a little bit tilted, right? You're not trying to tuck your tailbone. If you see me sideways, it's not like this. It doesn't look like that. Your tailbone reaches back on a little bit of a diagonal line, but your belly is zipped up a little, which is what protects you when you release your arms down. And when you even think about moving an arm like we're going to do, belly lifting protects your low back. When you inhale that left arm forward and up and overhead and back behind you, feel how you really have to work here. And then release it on down. We're going to go to the right arm. Inhale it forward and up. Exhale as it comes back down the back of you. Good. And now both arms. Inhaling them up. And then as you exhale them back down the back, feel how your belly really has to work. And inhale them all the way up. And again, you can have your hands over your shoulders. You can widen them if you'd rather into a V. But feel your pinkies turning towards each other a little bit more. Maybe even lifting up the gaze if you choose. So again, let yourself enjoy coming into that sense of balance, even though your legs are very different, right? Feeling very strong in your Warrior One. Energy up through your fingertips. One more breath. And then lower your arms on down beside you. We're going to turn towards that left side of our mat and come into that wide-legged forward bend again. So take your time. Again, hands can be on whatever surface you like, on blocks or on the floor. And again, go ahead and bend a knee at a time and ease your way into the width of your stance that feels good to you. Obviously, if that bending knee stuff doesn't work for your knees, don't do it. Good. And then finish off so you're back at center. And then let your hands walk out a little farther in front of you. Either the blocks are walking out or your hands are on the floor. Kind of almost like you're doing a down dog. Let your knees bend a little bit. And then imagine that your chest is melting a little more towards the ground. Good. And then come on back with your hands, walking them on back. And let's walk over towards our right foot. Now you can just walk with your blocks a little bit to the right, or you may decide you want to walk over all the way to your foot. Take your time, stay there for a breath, let your legs adjust here as you're onto this one side. And then come back through center, and we'll go to the other side. So again, you may just want to shift your blocks and come a little bit to the left. You may want to go all the way over to your foot. Stay there for a breath. Nice, and then we'll come on back into center. And then from here, again, set yourself up. Be where you'd like to be to stay in this pose. If that's bringing your hands down to the floor, more between your feet, fine. If your back is telling you not to do that, you ought to listen. So stay long in the back if you need to, using support underneath your forearms or your hands. But now, if you can, watch those full deep breaths. Again, receiving them, so you're not feeling like you're taking your breath. You're receiving your breaths. And the inhales and exhales naturally want to even out. One more nice full breath. And now to let yourself come up. You know, whether you need to adjust your feet before you come up or not is up to you. Bringing yourself on up. Walk your feet on together. Move around a little bit again. And we're going to come into Warrior Two this time. So take your time, let your right foot step back and get that right foot about parallel to the back edge of your mat. And really the heels are about in a line in your Warrior Two, so that when you bend that left knee and it comes out over the center of your foot, you're pretty comfortable there. And then bring your hands to your heart. Let yourself bring your hands into prayer hands here. And adjust. See you later here. Take your time. Unfold your arms on down beside you. And let's inhale the arms all the way up and out from the shoulders. And really look out over, think about looking out over your middle finger of your left hand there. Let your shoulders soften down. So bring that focus as much over as you can over your middle finger, and then imagine you're looking way out beyond the wall right there. And we're going to turn our left palm up here, and now inhale, reach up towards the ceiling. Let yourself breathe into the left side. Imagine your fingertips are getting closer to the ceiling. And on your exhale, come into your side angle. So your left hand or forearm can be on your thigh. And you can decide about adding that right hand arm up into line with the right side of your body, or keep your hand down on your hip. So you're lengthened out with your torso out over that front leg. It doesn't mean you need to be low. Good. And then we're going to come on back into Warrior Two, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. Gets us right back into that core strength of your Warrior Two. And then letting your hands come down, we're going to come into a lunge. So, if you've got your chair there, you can put your hands on the back or the seat of your chair, or you can bring your hands down to blocks any height. And of course, let that right heel reach directly behind you. Come back to that lunge. And we're going to bring our left hand to our left hip and roll that left shoulder up. And you can keep your hand right down there on your sacrum, or you can stretch the arm up if you choose. So be where you can be. Lengthen out through the top of your head. Reach back through your inner right heel. And then bring your hand on back down. We're going to step forward and come on into standing forward bend. And then let both your knees bend, press into your feet. Come on up and inhale your arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So find your mouth pose. If you need to sway around a little bit, by all means do. Enjoy. Bringing your gaze on out like you're looking at the horizon, whether your eyes are open or closed. And then we'll release our arms on down beside us. Good. Shake out a little bit. We'll walk around if you need to. We're going to come to the other side. So this time it'll be the left foot that steps back for Warrior Two. Heels lined up. Whether you step 2.5 feet apart, 3 feet, 4 feet, it's the alignment. Remember that front knee. If your knee starts to want to go beyond your toes, then maybe you want to let your stance get a little longer, okay? So be mindful. Feel equal between your feet, even though this front knee is bent and this back leg is straight. Again, you're getting that sense of being balanced between your feet. And then from here, let's go ahead and float our arms on up and bring our gaze out over, again, if you can think of looking over the top of the middle finger of your right hand. Reach out equally through both sets of fingertips and soften your shoulders down. Good. And then imagine you're looking over that finger, but really now out beyond the wall, out to a place that's way far away. Good. And then from here, we'll turn our right palm up. We're going to inhale straight up towards the sky. Let yourself just breathe into the right side, but let you imagine that your fingertips are getting closer to the ceiling. One more breath. And on the exhale, we'll come into side angle. So your right hand or forearm can go onto your thigh, there above your knee. And if you want to add the left arm up into line, you can. Not necessary at all. Keep the left hand down on your hip if you choose. Let yourself just find that length of the spine there as you elongate your torso out over that right leg. Good. We're going to come on back into Warrior Two from there. Pressing the feet away from each other, coming back into your Warrior Two. Energy out through the hands. And then let your hands come on down. We're going to find lunge, remember. So bringing your hands down to whatever surface you want to use and letting that left heel reach directly behind your foot now. When you're ready to add that twist, bringing your right hand on up and rolling the shoulder up if you can. You can put your palm right down there on your sacrum, or you can stretch your arm up. But think about that long line down the body here. So it's this long diagonal line. So reach out through the top of your head on that long line and back through your inner left heel on that long line. And then we'll bring our hand on back down, and we're going to step forward, get our feet right under us, and then let your knees soften. Press into your feet gently as you rise on up to standing, and inhale your arms all the way out and up. And on your exhale, let your hands come right down to be in front of your heart. So coming into mountain pose, if you need to adjust again a little bit, do. And see how, once you kind of get settled into your mountain, you get aligned, feels really good to feel the space all around you. Just see how it feels to come right back to that quiet strength of your mountain pose. Nice. And then we'll go ahead and release our arms on down beside us. Shake out a little bit. Move around if you can. And now, let's leave our mats where they are. But we're going to walk to a wall or somewhere where you can turn to put a hand on a space on the wall. So, like Sarah, you can be there. And so, Judy, maybe you can go face that wall. You're there, you're there, you're there. Yeah. So, all we're going to do is we're going to turn towards the wall. And you might want to look. We're going to turn towards the wall. And then we're going to cross our right ankle, either right ankle in front of the left ankle, or that right ankle above the knee into that figure 4 if you can. If that's too much, don't do that. And then bend your left knee a little bit, but let your hands on the wall there give you support. Now, if you want to walk further down the wall with your hands, you can. You can bend that left knee as much as you want. Really flex your right foot. Let yourself feel your hips here. Obviously, if it's too much, don't do it. Don't bend so deeply, maybe. Just let yourself be where you can. Good. And then uncross, and we're going to go to the other side. So left ankle, again, can be in front of the right ankle, so there's just a little bit there of a hip release. You can put the ankle above the knee. And again, once you start bending that right knee and sending your hips back, flex through that left foot. The more you bend the knee, really, the deeper you get there into the hip. So don't force it. You all know that. Good. And one more breath there. And then come on back up and step now onto your left foot. And bend your right knee and bring your right foot for a quad stretch behind you. Now, as you flex that foot, you might want to stay right there. Hands on the wall and just release right there. Or you might want to reach your right hand back and get hold of the top of your right foot. And that's not in everybody's ability to do that. So if you can't do it, don't worry about it. Just bend your knee. So if you do have your foot, you can pull gently the heel in a little bit towards your buttocks. But then see if you can push the foot a little into your hand. So it's more like you're trying to straighten your leg out again. And maybe you can send your chest towards the wall a bit and the knee a little behind you. So instead of making it a balance, you're really focusing on that quad stretch, right? And then come on back with the knee down, unfold that leg, stand on your right foot and lift your left foot up. Right away, it'll feel kind of like a release right there. And again, if you want to reach back and get hold of the top of the foot, you do. If you're like, yeah, no way, just bend the knee, because there's a quad stretch, right? Flex the foot. Now, if you have the foot, you can pull the heel in a little bit towards your buttocks. And then you can push the foot into the hand like you're trying to straighten it out. And maybe you want to send your chest a little towards the wall and your knee a little back. Maybe you don't want to do that. Be really mindful. Let yourself just find what you can there. Good. And then come on down with that foot. Turn your back to the wall. Let your feet come anywhere between 6 and 12 inches with your heels away from the wall. That'll depend on you. And then from here, clasp your hands behind you. Send your hips off away from the wall, all right? And then maybe even farther away as your legs are straighter. And you can let yourself just open across your chest here. So your arms, as your hands are clasped, you're trying to open across your chest easily. If this bothers your back, start out with heels closer to the wall and see if that feels any good, right? If you feel like you want more, you start with your heels farther away from the wall, and then you can come into, again, straightening your legs out and opening. So just let it feel, if there's a lift in the belly, you don't want to feel any kind of compression in your low back at all. So be where you can. If you can keep the head on the wall, but maybe the shoulders are away from the wall if you really want a little bit more going on there, right? Good. One more breath. And now send your hips back to the wall, and you may want to walk your feet out a little further. Let's come on forward. Now you can put your hands above your knees, separate them a little wider, put your elbows above your knees. Totally up to you. If any of you like to fold forward over your legs, you can straighten your legs out and put your hands down on your ankles if you want and come forward that way. Not for everybody at all. So you've got to find what works for you. If that bothers your back, don't do it at all. Take your time. Let yourself feel a release for your back and your hips. Good. And one more breath here. Now be mindful as you start to rise up. You can bend your knees, walk your feet back in when you're ready. Let yourself move around. We're actually going to go back to our mats anyway and come back onto our bellies on the floor. So let yourself come on down and make a little pillow with your hands. Rest your forehead on your hands if that's comfortable for you. And let yourself just breathe into your low back and see if you can really let your legs relax. And for some people, when they relax their legs all the way up into their hips, their heels hike outward and they come into this kind of pigeon-toed sort of effect. But that's not what everybody's hips do, right? So your feet might not want to do that. In fact, some people, heels would rather come in towards the midline. To me, that doesn't feel relaxing like the heels coming out. It just depends on how you're built. And then just breathe into your low back. Good. And now, let your head rise up so you can slide your forearms onto the mat for a little Sphinx pose. And if staying in the Sphinx with your elbows under your shoulders does not work for you, go down lower, slide your elbows down more towards your waist so that you can feel the back working there, but you're in a little back bend, but there's no stress, right? So you find where you can be. Let yourself enjoy opening up through the front of the body here, feeling the back body too. Good. And then bring your hands together, bend your knees, and lift up into that half forearm plank. And really feel like you're pulling yourself towards the front of your mat. So you really pull yourself onto the flesh above your knees. And really flex your feet. And there's your core right there. Your belly is working right here, your low back, your hips. One more breath. And then come on back down. Let your head come to the floor and reach your arms straight out from your shoulders like you're the letter T. Palms are facing down. And then from here, on your next inhale, rise your head and your legs up just a little bit. So your hands are still resting on the floor. Let yourself reach its little locust pose here. And now come on back down. And bring your hands back by your chest. And hug your elbows towards each other. And on your next inhale, do that same thing again. Let your head and your legs float up. So your hands are just there, just supporting you a little bit. You're not pushing into them really. Good. And then come on back down. And let's come back to our forearms and back to that half forearm plank or a full one. If you'd rather put your feet down and lift your knees up and come into a full forearm plank, by all means do. So you're engaging your belly. You're coming into either that half or that full forearm plank. Feeling that strength there in the core of the body. Nice. And then we're going to come back down again. Release your arms down alongside you and turn your palms down towards the ground. And now, on your next inhale, float everything you can up into that locust pose. Reaching your fingers and your toes back towards behind you. Opening up across your chest. Feeling that strength in the back of your body there. And then we're going to come on back down and we're going to make our way towards pose of a child. You know, only you know where your knees will let you get in this pose. So as you think about your big toes coming together and your heels apart, you can shift back a little bit with the hips more up in the air, or you can shift your hips back towards your heels. And you can either stay somewhat forward on your forearms, obviously, or you can, if you choose, bring yourself into the arms, going back towards right by your legs so the palms face up. But that's all. Everybody is totally different in a child's pose. Where is the most releasing for you? So just breathe into your low back. Enjoy those breaths, expanding your low back when you inhale. And it really is almost like you feel like you're breathing into your pelvis and expanding your whole pelvis, really. Good. One more breath. And now to rise up, you know, let your hands help you however you need. We're going to come around with our legs to sitting. So if you know sitting is best done for you on a blanket, grab one. Also, you might want to have your box handy too. So you might as well get everything around there close and get yourself comfortable. We're going to bring our soles of our feet together, but we're going to, instead of pulling our feet in close, we're going to let them be out a ways. You may even want to put blocks underneath your legs to support here, but you want to get kind of comfortable. I mean, if it's fine for you to feel like that without support, that's fine. As long as you don't feel like you're tensing up in your hips. So just let it feel like pretty natural, actually, to sit up nice and tall here. And if you're not trying to pull your feet in close, sometimes it feels a lot more natural, right? Don't force anything. If you need to stretch your legs out, do. And now let's just bring our fingertips back behind us, okay? And think about drawing our chest a little bit forward. So opening up here now, sitting up through the front of the body. See if you can imagine you're breathing into your lungs equally from the bottom to the top. And then we're going to come on up, and we're going to ease our way a little bit forward if we can. So if you can think about coming forward from your low back, doesn't mean you need to go far. You know, it might be a ½ inch. Some of you, it might feel really, really good to come farther forward because it is a really big stretch for your back and for your hips. So if you like coming farther forward, do. If not, just come a little bit and You can even leave your hands kind of like this behind you if that helps you feel a little more easy in coming forward. Take your time. Let yourself release there. And imagine really that you're lengthening your inner thighs. It's like your knees are reaching away from the midline. So you get this sense of longer in your inner thighs here and releasing more through your hips. Good. Be with your breaths. So see if you can stay with your breaths all the way through, following your inhale all the way through to before your exhale, and following your exhales all the way through to your inhales. And then we're going to slowly come on back up to sitting, and let's stretch out our left leg long and bring our right foot across to the outside, maybe below your knee, maybe above your knee. It just depends on how your hips feel. So you're going to be able to sit up nice and tall here, and then let your left hand come onto that right knee and just easily bring your right hand around towards behind you, lightly touching the floor with your fingertips. So here you are in a twist, letting yourself lengthen up. If you want to bring your arm more across towards that right knee, you're more than welcome to do that. You can let yourself be where you can and find that twist in the middle of the back. Feel that length up through the top of your head. Good. One more inhale here. And as you exhale, use your belly to bring you back around into center. We're just going to switch our legs out. So, you know, if you put that right heel a little more towards the midline of your body, sometimes it's a lot easier to cross to the outside of the leg. Take a nice inhale and let your right hand come to that left knee as you just easily bring the left hand around and lightly touch the ground with the fingertips. And again, you can keep your right hand there. If you feel like, oh, I'd like to bring my arm over, you can. Don't force it though. Let the back be doing the twisting. You're not using your arms to like really force yourself around. Let it feel really easy and good. Lengthen up through the top of your head and lift up now through the pelvic floor a little bit, almost like you could lift yourself up off the ground. One more inhale. And then as you exhale, use your belly. Come on back around into center. Stretch your legs on out again and move around. Before we come down to our backs, take your time. And once you come down, just have your blocks handy. Come on down. If you like to roll down, you're more than welcome to roll down to the floor. Come down however you feel good to go. Good. And then once you get there, let your feet be on the floor and let your knees just come from side to side. So it doesn't matter how far you go with the knees. You can just barely shift the knees from one side to the other, or you can let them come down more towards the ground if that feels good. Do it at your own timing too. Letting your back release and letting yourself ease your way there. Good. And then finish off back where your knees are up, and let's come into either a little bridge or a supported bridge pose. So feet are a little bit wider than in your mountain, but still parallel in your bridge pose. You can press into your arms and let your hips float up, roll your shoulders under, or you can bring a block underneath you and be in supported bridge if you'd rather. Or you can move up and down. If you feel better to let yourself lift up a little bit to a little bridge and come back down again and just engage your quads that way, you know, you can really use That's what you're going to feel in bridge pose, really. You don't ever want to feel bridge in your back. You'll feel your thighs. Yeah? There is that lengthening of the front and the back of the body in bridge pose. If you feel like it would be fun to lift your heels up in bridge pose, you can do that, because that certainly changes the feeling of the pose a little bit. Again, don't force anything. You can stay supported in your bridge on your block if you choose. Good. And then when you're ready, let yourself come down. Be mindful as you come on down and bring your knees into your chest when you get there. And maybe happy baby pose sounds good to you. Maybe you prefer just to let your knees be there and go side to side. Maybe you feel like there's something else that would be really good for you. If you need to let your knees both go side to side for those twists again, or another kind of a twist to do. You know, maybe you feel like you'd rather do an old-fashioned bicycle with your legs up there in the air, or stretch them out and just go back and forth. In other words, just kind of follow what the natural inclination right now is for your own body. And that could be anything. You might need another twist. You might need another release for your hips. Take your time. If you need to stretch out, stretch out. If you need to come into some other kind of movement, by all means do. The idea of having some support, and you know, there's no right or wrong way to be supported to be comfortable. It's the idea of having support underneath your knees or your back or your head. If you need a little blanket, if you need a bolster. So, don't give up on me, I'm coming. Take your time, let yourself release. And remember, if you feel like you need to wiggle a little bit to get into Shavasana more comfortably, by all means do. So let me know, wave at me if you'd like some support. And let yourself just enjoy now, feeling the ground underneath you. Being aware of the ground supporting you. And just imagine your muscles are softening down into that firmness of the floor. Almost like you're melting down into the ground. As you accept your breaths now, easily in and out. And whatever helps you to return your focus to your breath, just keep coming back to that wave of your breath, giving your body and your brain time here to benefit from all you just did. Just finding those little quiet places where you can do so. and allowing yourself to completely and fully relax. to move again. And when you're ready, take your time. You can start with your extremities, move on up. You can stretch. You can bring your knees up and in. Just let your body kind of take over to do what you need to do physically to come back to moving. And be gentle with yourself. Take your time. You can stay on your back. You can roll to either your right or your left side. Just giving yourself time. And be mindful when you do start to feel like rising up to sitting. Get comfortable in how you're sitting. Let your eyes close again if they opened on the way up, and let yourself adjust your legs however feels best for you so that you can sit up nice and tall easily. Your eyes can close again if they opened on your way up, and you can enjoy that length of your spine again, that sense of space in your spine as you reach up through the top of your head. Let yourself come into watching your breath again, in and out through your nose. And on your next exhale, let your hands come gently together there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.